एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरभव निर्वैर अकाल मूर्त अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद। धन धन गुरु ग्रंथ साहब जी महाराज, धन गुरु गोबिंद सिंह साहिब सच्चे पातशाह। भूल छिमो हमरी प्रभापन पूलन हार कहाँ को मौसम, हवाए बंदगी अवर दर वजूद मरा, वगरने ज़ौके चुनी आमदैन नमूद मरा। कहा शुद्ध के जां बच गा कुश्ते चार, के बाकी बेमादस्त पेचीदा मार। वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह। We are going through the Bani of the Japji for the last few sessions. We have done 12 Pauris up to now. Japji is the essence of spiritual enlightenment, an understanding of our own spiritual being, understanding of creation, and how to connect with this creation. Maharaj, in the beginning, has introduced us to the Mool Mantar, the root mantra of the Guru Granth Sahib, which defines the qualities of the Creator and how to get to Him. Gur Prasad. Maharaj has told us that four forms of time are there in this creation. There is the three times which we know of, present, past and future. Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai Bhi Sach, Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. And there is one time which is beyond all these times, when there is no time. He is a reality in all these times. Then Sahib tells us about the ways of how we don't get to Him, how we can get misled in searching for the Creator. He tells us the soche soch na hovi, je sochi lakhwar, chupe chup na hovi, je laira aliftar. ਭੁੱਖਿਆਂ ਭੁੱਖ ਨਾ ਉਤਰੀ ਜੇ ਬੰਨਾ ਪੁਰੀਆਂ ਪਾਰ, ਸਹਿ ਸਿਆਣਪਾ ਲੱਖ ਹੋਏ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਚੱਲੇ ਨਾ. These are the four forms in which we do not connect to Him. And these are our inherent nature. We like to cleanse the body and we think we are connected. We try and be quiet in the physical world and we think that means connection. We try and satiate the senses and feel that once the senses are satiated, we will get connected. And then we rely on our intellect, our own ability to know, and we think that will guide us. When Maharaj tells us that these are not the ways of how to get to Him, he raises the question of how do we get to Him? Give such yara hoyi. How do I become truth? How do I realize and connect? And he introduces us to a new word, hukam. Kiv satyara hui hai, kiv kude tutte paal. Maharaj says, hukam razai chalna. Nanak likhya naal. Hukam is something we do not understand. It's cryptic to us. And here there is an indication from him about leading a life of acceptance more and less of expectation. On a day-to-day basis? No, I don't think it's on a day-to-day basis, but it's more to do with understanding our conditions, understanding our life as it is. Hukam razai chalna. Nanak likhya naal. So these are the two ways of our lives. One is the baggage of our Karam. What we have done, that traps us. That's always with us. How do we get free of all this? The wall of falsehood, the false wall of ego has to be transcended. Give us a jara hoiye, give kude tutte paal. Transcending our own mind, our own intellect, our own ego is not within our own realm. So Maharaj raises the question, Pher ke agge rakhiye, jab disse darbar. What do I place before him? Mohke bolan boli ijjat sun tare pyar. What should I say? That I am full of love for him and I am full of the love which is inherent in creation. Amrit Vela Sachana. Then Maharaj introduces us to another potent word, Naam. Make your entire life an Amrit Vela. Or rise on the early hours, depart from your sleep and make a sincere effort to go inward. Hukam and Naam, these are synonym words. We know Hukam when we know Naam. Amrit Vela Sachano, Vadiyai Vichar. Sahib has now, in the last few paudis, started a journey to the mind, to the inner mind. Journeying inwards requires sunnah, absorbing the Hukam, absorbing Naam. And once we have absorbed the Naam, Sunnah, then the mind has gone into Manna. It has become one with the Guru. The meditation which the world is often discussing and often talking about has to do with making the mind thoughtless, has to do with the one mind, not a dual mind. Maharaj says, if you want this state of mind, then focus on the Shabad. Gaviye, suniye, man rakhiye pao. Shabad is the Guru. Now here is the third synonym. Hukam, Naam and then Shabad. So far he has not mentioned Shabad by itself. But when he says Gaviye, suniye, he is talking about Shabad. Man rakhiye pao. And the transformation of the mind is a spiritual experience. Transforming the mind away from the senses, away from the physical realities of life, makes it focused towards its spiritual self. What is the spiritual self of mind, Maharaj? So we are the last few paudis discussing about Sunnah. And now we have ventured into Manna. The one who has already becomes one with the Guru, whose mind is now doesn't have a gap with the Guru. The Sunnah is so absorbed that he goes into Manna. We have discussed this story of Kabir and Ramanand. Bhai Gurdas mentions this story. Ramanand used to go to the Banaras, to the Ganges and bathe in the morning, early hours. And Bhagat Kabir is resting on the steps. And in the early hours he doesn't see him, and his foot touches Bhagat Kabir and he says, "Wake up and japo naam, Ram naam." The exact words which Bhai Gurdas uses, are interesting. When he पैरी टूंब उठा लिया, बोलो राम सिख समझाई, राम कबीरे भेद न पाई, राम कबीरा कबीरे भेद न पाई. The feet of Ramanand, he tells Kabir, bole Ram Sikh samjhai. This he has taught, he has told Kabir in the instant when his foot is touching Kabir. That is all that this transaction is. Kabir is the Puran Brahmgyani. We have so many shabads of Bhagat Kabir in the Guru Granth. So here is the power of Sunna and Manna. He heard what his Guru says without having even known that he is the Guru. And he has practiced what was told to him. So Manna. Please focus on the admissions so I don't have to be distracted. And in this manna, Kabir becomes the spiritual being. We know the story of Siddharth when he became Gautam. And with him is not a guru, but a charioteer. For the first time, he ventures out of his court, where all the luxuries are available to him. But he sees four things. He sees illness, old age, death, and then he sees a saint. And he asks his charioteer, what is all this? And once this is all explained to him, Siddhartha is changed forever. When we are receptive to what is the experience of life, then like a black dot on a white sheet completely absorbs the whiteness in itself. We see that a black spot more than the white sheet. Just like that, when the mind is prepared to receive and accept, it transforms. The acceptance transforms the mind, and it transforms life, and it creates something sublime. It's the subconscious which changes the mind. And Siddhartha became Gautam Buddha. And we know Gautam Buddha is highly revered in the entire Southeast Asia and the world now. I think he is the one whose idols are the maximum in this world. In India also, Buddhism was an intensely practiced religion. In fact, if we go into the mandirs, we will find that most of them have a past relation to the Buddhism. And Buddhism went from India to Southeast Asia via China. Bodhidharma was one immensely revered saint who created the Kung Fu, the Shaolin temple. He stayed there, who made the tea plant famous. And that is how tea is synonym with meditation all over the Southeast Asia. So when a monk goes to meditate, he has tea first. And this was the tea plant which Bodhidharma stayed at in a mountain, and there that herb used to exist. And that's how the tea plant became connected with Buddhism. And in Zen Buddhism, they have what they call the tea ceremony. It's become so ingrained. I'm so intensely practicing making tea before having meditation, because now my tea making has become the meditation. So they have a tea ceremony. This is the manna. why we don't listen and why we don't absorb and why we don't change as dramatically is because we are not as virgin. We are more distracted. And we feel more intensely about our own intelligence. We don't put all our energy into the transformative listening. We don't have dhyan. So if we want to change ourselves, change our surroundings, Shabad and dhyan are two things which we need to get close to. How does dhyan come about? We will know in the steps further. Guru talks about dhyan at least 3 to 4 times in the Japji. And now again he has raised this similar concept in the Shabad which we Pauri, which we will do today. I haven't asked anybody to prepare to read it. I don't know if somebody can. But if somebody is willing to read it, please raise your hand, and then we start from the 13th body. So the first body of Manana has one and now the second body has two manne surt hove man buddh. This is the state of man, one who has gone into manana. Now we are talking about that person. So ik lav and do lav. So we are talking about now, after the first body, the state of the person who's in manana, who's literally become like his guru. There seems to be very little gap. The state of dhyan, Maharaj now introduces us to another word, but let me first have somebody read, or I can read the body and then we can go ahead. Manne surt hove man buddh, manne sagal pavan ki sudh, manne moh chota na khaye, manने जम के साथ न जाए, ऐसा नाम निरंजन होए, जे को मन जाने मन कोय, ऐसा नाम निरंजन होए, जे को मन जाने मन कोय. Maharaj introduces another new word to us, like hukam, naam, shabad. We are introduced to Surt. Surt is a state of being, a state of mind. Maharaj says, Manne Surt hove man buddh. It's the part of our mind, Surt, ekagar man. When we are completely relaxed and our energies are not distracted and we have more focused, we have reached a point where there are no thoughts in our mind. Now there is no desire or expression of the ego. There is no wanting or need. But the mind is focused in its own calmness. It's in a state of non-doing. In the Western philosophy, they use a word called being, doing and being. So, it's in a state of being where it is not doing anything. Manne surt. This is the surt. Hove man buddh. And the mind has become aware. Buddh is the awareness. Buddh. When Siddhartha became Buddha, he became aware. The mind is aware. The mind is awakened. The mind is connected. And the mind is in Anand. The mind is now not distracted, not conflicted, not hungry for wandering, not seeking, but it is aware, and in its own awareness it's calm, peaceful, restful, and anand. Buddh. What does the Buddh mean, Maharaj? When a mind is aware of its own structure, when the mind is aware of what it contains within itself. We have in the Gurbani often Maharaj saying, कौडी जैसा जन्म है, हीरे जैसा जन्म है, कौडी बदले जाए. Hira is that reality, the mool of the mind. Guru Amar Das calls it Tat Gyan. The knowledge of what the mind is and what its source is. And what is its reality without doing, in non-doing, in Surt. This is what Guru Amar Das calls Anand. A state of unconditioned happiness where nothing is being done, but where it is being felt and known that inner mind contains Anand in it. Its reality is Anand. So in the Hindu mythology, they use these words Sat, Chit, Anand. We discussed this earlier. That which is truth within the mind and that which is Anand. Maharaj is introducing us to a state of our own mind. Manne surt hove man buddh. The mind has become aware in its own non-doing, focused mind, undivided mind, thoughtless mind. How does the mind become thoughtless, Maharaj? Who thinks? Where do the thoughts come from? How do we know where is the source of our thoughts? The thoughts come from our conditioned mind, our ego mind. And most of them are triggered from our conditioning. Something we have learned, something we have known. In fact, most of our thoughts are random nonsense. They don't mean anything. Or if we are fearful, worried, we are concerned, then we keep thinking about the same thing again and again. This is energy being diverted, energy being distracted, and it makes the mind unstable. The more I think, the more unstable my mind is. And the more I'm wandering, the less likely I will know. I will not be able to listen or absorb or go into manan. So, an important aspect of how to meditate on Shabad is to first make the mind calm. It can happen that we are not calm at all, sometimes. But let's take the trigger of those times when we are calm, when we are relaxed. And then we shut the doors of the outside senses and we go inwards to a point where I am not in the thought anymore. I have withdrawn myself from all thought. Maharaj says, Moond liye darwaze, baaj ye le anhad baaje. I have shut the doors outside. Senses doors are shut. And all the energy is now going inward. And what is it that energy reveals to me? Maharaj says, Baaj ye le anhad baaje. This is a celebration inside my mind. Man Buddh. How does that happen? We can calm ourselves. We can focus ourselves. We can be a thoughtless state also. This is within the grasp of me. But the me cannot go beyond itself. I cannot drop the ego. The ego will be dropped only when I am introduced to the Guru. This is the Guru's role, to take me from my ego state to my non-ego state, where I am not. Guru Arjan Sahib, when he talks about this experience, he says, Savdhan ekagar cheet, Prabh ki ustat karo sant meet. Savdhan ekagar cheet. Often in the Guru Granth Sahib, Maharaj talks about gun gaave din raat, Nanak chahoe ho. I only want to sing the praises of the Creator. Gun gaava din raat, Nanak chahoe ho. Now, how does this become so potent? How does this become so revealing? How does this become so enrapturing that I sing the praises of the Creator? We are all self-centered people. We charge our ego all the time. And there lies the fault. The ego is a tool to live the life. Nothing wrong in living the ego. But to stop at the ego and not go beyond it is to lose the opportunity to know where I have come from and where I shall go. Kahan te aaye, kahan te aave, kahan hai jaave, kahan hai rahe samai. Kit kit bid jag upje purkha, kit kit dukh binas jai. How does the world come about, the creation come about? How does the ego come about, Maharaj? Kitho upje, kit sanjam hai jai. Home eho hukam hai, par ye kirt phir aaye. This is a part of his order, his creation, his hukam. Home kitho upje, how does it come about? Home dirag rog hai. Daru bhi ismai. This is a disease, and the medicine is within the disease. Kirpa kare je apni, ta gur ka shabad kamaye. So shabad is the way I transcend my ego. I can't transcend my ego on my own. And if I think I can, then there is my fallacy, there is my problem. In the Asa Diwar, Sahib has explained this to us, that most of us rely on our ego self. We think our ego will solve our issues. My knowledge will solve my problem. Nanak Guru na chetni, man apne suchet, chute til buhar jyo sunje andar khet. He says this is a plant like the til, the sesame plant, which is not productive and it will die in its own field. It will not go beyond. The possibilities of the human endeavor is in the seeking of its happiness. We are all seeking that happiness which is forever. Guru Amar Das defines it as Amrit. Sur nar munjan Amrit khoj de, so Amrit gurte paya. That Amrit is beyond the ego self. We will find it when we meet the Guru. Some people seem to be inherently aware of this. And their decisions, though physical, are aware of the potential of the Guru and Sikh meeting. Their nature and their life is such, their decisions are such that we may not agree with them, but they are transformative experiences. They do something as a service to the Guru in the physical world, but the rewards are spiritual. And so we see immense sacrifice happening in the physical world, which is not logical. It is not logical to give up yourself or your family in the service and die for it. But there is a bigger logic which seems to exist in this concept of Sikh and Guru's meeting. And what is the reward is far more potent and far more potential than what the physical rewards of the world will be. Whatever the physical world gives us is temporary. It doesn't have a very stable or long period of continuity. There are possibilities of interventions at any stage in our happiness. The sources of our happiness are physical. So in this way, the physical happiness which we draw from the senses world, the physical world, is one transient and other temporary. It is therefore not so stable. So the sadhu or the seeker does not value it very much. There seems to be a state of being which is far more stable, which is something which is not conditioned, which is unconditional, and which does not have a death as an experience, as party to it. Such an experience of happiness is what Guru Amar Das calls Amrit. Now, where does this Amrit reside? Maharaj says that it resides within our man. So when we visit the Guru Granth Sahib, any Shabad of the Guru Granth Sahib, the two words which will be in every Shabad is Man and Naam. So my man is transformed by Naam. Naam I can call Shabad. Naam I can call Hukam. And a Naam is an experience within my inner being. So this Amrit, an awareness of this Amrit, an awareness of this Anand, an awareness that there is a state of being beyond my ego, is the state of Buddha. Manne, Surt hove man Buddha. Mind is aware. There is no ego in this state. There is a focused mind, Surt. Manne sagal pavan ki Surt. All creation can be understood in the physical form, or it can be understood in the spiritual realm as a part of my connectivity to creation. If I am connected to creation in the spiritual realm, then there are no barriers. There are no different planes. Everything is from its own source, and I am connected to that source. That source is the Creator, and that source is Anand. So in this way, Manne Sagal Pavan Ki Sut. The seeker who has become the Buddha, the state of being where one is in manna, he or she is now connected to the source of the Creator, and in that way aware of all creation. It doesn't mean that the person will have all the Google Maps within his memory. That's not what it means. It means that what is most relevant in creation, the happiness which we are seeking, such a person's state knows where that is. He or she knows that his seeking is not in the physical world, but it is more in the inner world. That Amrit which he or she is seeking resides within him or herself. And we get it through the Guru. In the manna, the transformation happens of the inner being. When the person is absorbed in Naam, and the moment his ego is gone, or he or she goes beyond the ego, then he is connected to the source of the Creator. Manne sagal pavan ki sud. Manne moh chota na khaye. A person who is wandering, who is seeking and who doesn't know where to go, who doesn't have light with him, is in darkness. And all the possibilities as such a person will fall and hurt himself. Moh chota na khaye. And he can hurt his face, himself in the process. But the one who is in Manan is already in light. He is aware. Manne moh chota na khaye. So he doesn't get hurt in seeking in the wrong place. You can hurt such a person in the physical realm. But the physical has little meaning once it is transcended. It has its meaning in its own plane. So what we consider a completeness of life in the physical, once it is transcended and the experience of spirituality is more revealed to us, then the physical becomes a medium to get to the spiritual. It is valuable to that extent. And from such a person, you can't take away his spirituality. So you can't intervene. We have the next body. This is what Guru Sahib will be telling us. Can't be distracted away, can't be blocked from him. So manne surt hove man buddh. How does this come about when I close myself from the outer thought? When I go inward? How does that happen? When I connect to Shabad. Gaviye suniye. Then I experience love within myself. Not for a reason, without a reason. Then we know what is the structure of our mind and how do we do it in a practical sense. Well, we do exactly what Guru Sahib says. Gaviye suniye man ki tapao. Gaviye suniye man rakhiye pao. This is what we need to do. Sit by ourselves. Sing the Shabad. And sing it to a point where our entire focus, man, dhyan is in Shabad. We sing it and we listen to it. So the Shabad absorbs itself in our mind. And then the love will rise within ourselves. So this practice of singing the Shabad by ourselves Does it mean singing? Well, you can narrate it, you can say it. Doesn't exactly mean you sing it in a rag. But the idea is to completely focus on the Shabad. This is the dhyan of the Shabad. And the dhyan of the Shabad is what will take us to the realm where there is no ego. So for this we should have very close to ourselves a Shabad which we like, or the Mool Mantar, something which we don't have to consciously say or know. We know it anyway. And we meditate on this in this way. Gaviye suniye man rakhiye pao. This is how the mind gets transformed. The manan starts. The practice from sunna to manana happens. There are other ways, but the Shabad and the Surat experience, Guru Nanak has revealed this in the Japji in this way. And he says, in this way the pain will go away. Sukh, there is a house within ourselves which is full of happiness. Sukh par, dukh par har sukh kar le jaye. So we are all looking for this happiness. We are all seeking this anand. But we are seeking it in the material world. And there is where we get hurt. Moh chota na khai. But when we practice the inner Shabad, in the inner realm, we live the Shabad. And we experience it and allow Guru to open those doors within us. Then we realize that this happiness lives within ourselves. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib also says this. He says, "Kat hi khojo pai." Seek within yourself. Bhagat Kabir says something similar. Bande khoj dil har roz. Na phir pareshani maaye. We are all concerned about worry. He says the ego world is not going to take away our worry. Ved kate viftira pai. Our dialogues, discussions, our ego perceptions. Where I am more concerned about what I say, what I do, what I know. Dil ka fikr na jaye. The worry of the mind will not go away. Tuk dam karari jo karo. Make the mind stable for even a second. Thoughtless. Surt. Hazir Hazur Khudai. And you will find the Creator present before you. The eyes of the man will then feel the experience of the Creator. Bande khoj dil har roz, na fir pareshani maaye. Seek within your mind. So before we start the meditation of the Shabad, Gaviye suniye, we should calm ourselves, watch our thoughts, let the thoughts drop. A simple exercise which people can do is feel your breath and avoid focusing on the thought. The source of the thought is me. The source of the thought is my ego. And the moment I've understood that I am not thought, I don't have to go after my thoughts and recognize myself as the thought. Then I can go beyond thought. But it requires an experience within ourselves. It's not verbally said and done and understood. It can't be done like that. We need to practice it. And we don't have people teaching us at a young age, when we are 4, 5, 6 years of age, how to sit in dhyan, in Shabad. That's one of the reasons we are far from it, and we need to practice more intensely. Because in the later years, it becomes more structured. Our ego becomes more in control of ourselves. So the practice of the Shabad will take us into Sunna and Manne, the state of awareness. Manne surt hove man buddh, manne sagal pavan ki sud. Manne moh chota na khaye. And such a person has a difference in departure to death as well. Manne jam ke saath na jaye. He is not dragged away by the energies of death from his body. He leaves the body in a more graceful way because he is already detached from the body in some ways. He is not as attached to the body. He or she is not attached to the body as we are, because he has found an inner realm, an inner source which tells him about the spiritual world, which gives us the experience of spirituality, where we don't have to have the physical connection to the body to feel alive. Maharaj says, "Manna jam ke saath na jaye." Such a person doesn't die the other way, the way everybody else does. Guru Sahib talks about a 10th door. Guru Amar Das has discussed this in the Bani of Anand, Dasam Dwar. He says, "No dware pargat kiye, daswa gupt rakhaya." The physical form, the ego has physical 9 doors. Our eyes, mouth, anal cavity, sexual organ, there are 9 holes, if you count them. If you remember the Shabad one which Nusrat used to sing, "Eh mera charkha no lakha." I'm not sure if it's Amir Khusro, but because Amir Khusro's poetry is 700 years old. So most of it is spiritual. All of it is spiritual. So Maharaj talks about these 9 doors to the physical world. But he says, "Dasma gupta rakhaya." And then he says there is a key to this 10th door. And the Guru controls that key. Dasam dwar kunchi jab dije, tab dayal ko darshan kije. When that door opens, then we are face to face with the Creator, our source of being, our source of birth and death and life, our source of breath, our source of our total being. So in that experience, we are no longer dependent on the physical. He or she is no longer dependent on the physical like we are. The experience is very different. They live in the physical, but they are not dependent on the physical. They are free of it. They are free of the physical, detached from it. They experience the physical, they live and enjoy the physical like you and me, but they don't depend on it. So in this way, life is transformative. Manne jam ke saath na jaye. Aisa naam niranjan hoye, jeko man jane man koi. And the mind has become cleansed with the naam. This is how Gun-gama din raat Nanak chahoe ho. This is what the Gun-gana does. It cleanses me of my ego mind. And I am as closer to as Creator has made me. गुण गावा दिन रात नानक चाहो एहो. Maharaj says, ऐसा नाम निरंजन होए जेको मन जाने मन कोय. If somebody has experienced this within the mind, जेको मन जाने, then he has become a different person. He is more aware of the Creator. He lives the Creator within himself. This is the 13th body. The 14th body is again the state of manan, manne. Manne marg thak na paए, manne पथ से परगट जाए, manne मग न चले पंथ, manne धर्म से ती संबंध. ऐसा नाम निरंजन होए जेको मन जाने मन कोय. मन्ने मार्ग ठाक न पाए, मन्ने पथ से परगट जाए, मन्ने मग न चले पंथ, मन्ने धर्म से ती संबंध. ऐसा नाम निरंजन होए जेको मन जाने मन कोय. Maharaj now has gone further to explain to us the state of this person who is in manan. मन्ने मार्ग ठाक न पाए. Marg, the road, there are no hindrances, obstacles, obstructions. In the physical world, there are obstacles, there are obstructions. People can stop us physically. Progress can also be stopped. Somebody is getting promoted, can also be demoted. So in the physical world, the gifts can be taken away by ego, by various ways. So there is obstructions, there are hindrances. Bhagat Ravidas talks about this state of inner being, and he talks about a share, a city without sorrow. And in that he mentions Meheram Mehel na ko atkave. The meher, the grace, the love, the anand, it can't be blocked by anyone. Exactly this is what Maharaj is talking about. Manne marg thak na paए. Nobody can block the grace coming to such a person. Manne path se pargat jaye. And path is here grace, the exalted. Path can mean leaf, path can mean exalted, the gifted. Manne path se pargat jaye. And he gets the experience of this life gets exalted in his process, gets revered, and people are aware of such a person. Manne magna challe panth. Now, for somebody who is not sure of his directions, somebody who doesn't know the way, somebody who is wandering, can get misguided by people. We often know that when we look for directions, even on the road, sometimes people can give us the wrong directions and we go the other way. Even Google Maps does that. That's because we are not sure of the way ourselves. But when such a person who is aware of his inner self, aware of his life beyond the identity of a person, when such a person is living the anand within his man, then he cannot be misguided. He can't be told about different routes of life. So, mag is meaning marg. Panth also means method and marg. So, a person like this can't be misguided into different routes or different methods, or even in the sense of karam kand. You do this by this method. He already knows how to connect. Now here the question will come, what is dharam? We often conflict or confuse dharam to religion. So we think the structure of the religion is dharam. But see what Maharaj has said. When he came out of the Bein Nadi, the first words he uttered was, "Na ko Hindu, na ko Musliman." These structures are not absolute. Then what is absolute? Guru Nanak Sahib, in all his journeys, in all his explanations, has always pointed towards Naam. And in the Asadivar, he clearly tells us, Nanak Sache Naam bin, kya tikka, kya tag. These structures of religion have no meaning if we don't have Naam. Naam defines religion, and that's the reason religion is. Unfortunate that we use religion for other purposes. So in this way, religion is to connect to within ourselves, within our source. Religion or dharam, if we say they are the same, they mean the ability to connect to our Naam. Guru Arjan Sahib Maharaj defines it in the Sukhmani, Sarv Taram mein Sresht Taram, Har ko Naam Jap Nirmal Karam. Where the man has become Naam. So our connection to Naam, that is Dharam. Our connection to Shabad, our connection to Anand, that is Dharam. Whichever religion we may follow or route we may follow, if we don't do this, then we are living the structure without the spirit. We are living just the garbs, the clothes, the identity, and that's part of our ego self. And we have used it as a hindrance rather than a connection. Connecting to Naam is our way of solving the puzzle of life, is our way of understanding that life is not pain and tragedy. Life is not separation. Life is not ending in death. That any change which life brings to me, it cannot take away my inner reality, my inner experience. Manne marg thak na paye. And this is the reason Maharaj has categorically explained it to us. The experience of Atamras. The joy of the Atma, the spirit. Atam ras jai janiye, so hai khalis dev. Prabh mein, moh mein, taas mein, ranchak nahi na ped. Maharaj has manne taram seti sambandh. Those who have already absorbed the Naam, become the form of the Naam, are in Manan, and they are the ones who are connected to Dharam. They are connected to their inner spirit, to their inner Atma, to the inner Ras, to the Amrit, which Maharaj says we are all seeking. And then you can't misguide them. They know the route to their home. You can't have Google Maps or anybody else say a different route and they go a different way. We all know the route to our house. Manne dharam se ti sambandh. They are connected to dharam. They are connected to that part of us which is unchanging. So there is a changing part of life and the unchanging part of life. Like Archimedes said in the fulcrum, give me a point and I will turn the whole earth around from the point. So there is a stable part of our mind which is where the surt will go. The surt gets aware of this state of being. And that is our house, our car. That is where Shabad will take us. That is an experience beyond our ego self. We are wandering in the thought world. We are wandering in the ego world. And therefore we are insecure. Therefore we are fearful. Therefore we are in darkness. We don't have a vision of the world as it is, or the real world. And then what we do is, we hold on to the structure of religion. And in that we find our solace. I am a Sikh, I am a Hindu, I am a Muslim, I am a Christian. These structures give us mental peace, mental solace. But what is the meaning of these structures? What are they supposed to do? What is the relevance of these structures? Maharaj says they are only relevant if there is Naam within them. Naam is a state of being beyond my ego mind, beyond my structured mind, beyond my conditioned mind, which I have nurtured all my life, beyond my thought world. That Naam is what will tell me what Dharam is. Awareness and a practice of that Naam is what will reveal the real Anand of life to me. It will reveal what is the reality and more permanent part of myself, where my ego is not, but the Creator is. This is what Maharaj talks about when he says the experience of Guru and Sikh. Surt is the Chela, he says, and Shabad is the Guru. So the meeting of the Surt and the Shabad reveals the inner experiences of life, the Dharma of life. And this experience or this Dharma is not temporary, it is permanent. It's not transient. It can't be broken then. Moh lalan se preet bani, todi na tute, chodi na chute, aisi maadho kheenchta nahi. I can't break it even if I wanted to. The road is opened. I know the route home. The celebration has started. I know how to go inward. So the Gaviye Suniye is the meditation of the Shabad. Dukh par har sukh kar le jaye. And then he says it another place. Suniye maniye man ki tapav. Listen and absorb and then become manan. Antargat tirath mal now. Within you a new tirath will open. What does he mean by Tirath? A state of being which is exalted, which is celebratory, where I can wash my mind, cleanse my mind of the conditioning. I can go out into the physical world, the mind gets conditioned, and you can wash it in the Naam. पर ये मत पापा के संग ओ तो नामे के रंग. Maharaj is now taking us from Sunna to Manna. And the Mannan, when it is complete, will reveal a new being, a state of being called Panch. But that is yet a pauri away. Maharaj says, Manna Taram Seti Sambandh. Whether I am Hindu, Christian, Muslim, if I am connected to within the source of my inner being, then I am dharmi, then I am aware of what the religion is supposed to do for me. But if I don't open that experience, then I keep using this structure, then actually the structure becomes my wall. It becomes a hindrance. If I have not known the love which exists in creation, unconditional love, love without a reason, a state of love, then I have not known religion, then I have not known dharma, then I have not lived that dharma. And how does this happen? Is transformation of the mind, the man, with the naam. Bin naame man take na tikehi. Nanak bhook na jaye. Without naam, the mind will not be restful, not be stable. And the hunger will not go away. We are hungry for happiness. All our searches of life, all our seeking of life, all our wanting is actually wanting happiness. But when we seek happiness in the senses world, in the physical world, we find both happiness and sorrow together. So we end up unhappy. We are all seeking happiness, but we end up unhappy. That's because happiness and sorrow live together. And when we seek happiness, sorrow comes with it. दुख को मांगे सबको, सुख को मांगे सबको, दुख न मांगे कोई. सूखे को दुख अगला, मनमुख बूझ न होए. We are all seeking happiness. सुख को मांगे सबको, दुख न मांगे कोई. सूखे को दुख अगला. One who is happy, the next he will be unhappy. They live together. मनमुख बूझ ना होए. सुख तुख दोए दर कपड़े पहरे जाए मनुख. These are two clothes. We wear one and then we wear the other. They are part of our senses world. Because it's a dual world. It's not an absolute world. It's a conditional world. It's all built on conditions, reasons, causes. When we love with a reason. We don't love without a reason. But in the Creator's world, happiness and love are unconditional. That's the state of our inner mind. To be able to connect to that is dharma. That's religion. That is the relevant part of religion. So whichever religion I may be, my endeavor must be to open this secret of the inner mind. to allow Shabad to reveal the inner secrets. Maharaj says, Saaj kaho main, sun leho sabe, jin prem kiyo tin hi prab payo. One who has found love, only he can find God. They are connected. Love and God are the same thing. And without finding unconditional love, you cannot find God. You cannot find inner peace. You cannot find security. You cannot find stability. You cannot find your spiritual home. We will only have these homes of sand and stone, which are time-bound. In the Zafarnama, Maharaj says very beautifully, Bibi gardeshe bewafae zama, ke barhar baguzad makino maka. Bibi, sea. Persian, it means sea. Zamana bewafa, that the world is treacherous. The ego world is treacherous. With time, the house and the one who lives in the house both don't remain. What remains, Maharaj? Sadhu remains, Sant remains, Guru remains, the spirit remains. That's why you see the difference between Aurangzeb's presence as a physical, powerful king and the Guru, who had no physical means, hardly any physical means left with him. And he wrote the letter of victory, because the victories of life come for the victory of the man, not outside. Outside we lose everything. Whatever we get will be taken away. And the tragedy comes in the end when we realize what we've done. Sheikh Sadi talks about an interesting story. He says that this person used to go and take some stones and fly his birds away from his field so he could protect his crop. And one day he saw, when he dug the pit for the stones, he saw an immensely beautiful lot of stones. And he was also very enamored by them, and he used them one by one. All the birds were away. In the evening when he went home, he took one of those stones home. Sheikh Sadi Shirazi is a 12th century Sufi from Persia, Iran. So that one stone remains, and he meets a jeweler. He somehow sees that stone and he says, "Can you give this to me?" He says, "But this is the only one which remains." And he says, "I can give you all the wealth of my shop. Take everything away. Give me this stone." When this person hears this, he's very resentful. He's very pained. He says, if this is how valuable this stone was, I have thrown all of them away. He's talking about our breath. We throw away our entire life till we have very few left. And then we are pained by how valuable life was. हीरे जैसा जन्म है कौड़ी बदले जाए. What is the solution, Maharaj? Sahib says, work towards opening the door within yourself. Give satyara hoiye, give kure tutte paal. How do I become aware of the Creator? How does the wall of falsehood? Falsehood would mean what? That which is temporary, not forever. That will be lost anyway. That which is imaginary. Thought world, ego world, that's the temporary, transient life. But it has the potential to open the inner self. Potential to open the Atma to us, which is forever. Hukum radai chalana. Nanak likhya naal. And all these steps which Guru Sahib is now telling us, suniye, maniye, he is explaining how to transcend the mind, how to transform the inner mind, how to open the doors within ourselves. And it has always to do with the Naam and Man. There is no third way, no magical word. And where does all this happen? In the field of the Man. Maharaj says, Manne Dharam se ti sambandh. The state of such a person who is in Manan, who has absorbed the Guru's Shabad and become aware and transcended the ego, is aware of what is Dharam. And he is connected to that. Aisa naam niranjan hoye. Naam has cleansed me. Jeko man jane. And my mind, I know. He says such a person knows. Man koe. The inner state of mind, of realizing that what was with me always. Guru Tegh Bahadur also guides us. He says, don't go searching for it in the forest. The Creator lives within you, around you all the time. Kahere ban khojan jai, sarab nivasi sada lepa, tohe sang samai. The Creator lives with you. The Creator lives with us and we are not aware of it. We keep questioning about life for it. Is there a Creator? Is there a God? Is there... I think what matters is that there is a road within ourselves to our inner mind, to our 11th direction. There's a road in the Surt which opens and reveals the secrets of life, or maybe the more real world. Not the secret world, the real world, not the world which can go away, which is temporary, which I always feel threatened by because it changes all the time. Aisa naam niranjan hoye, jeko man jane man koe. This is the 14th body. We have one more body of manna. And we can do that next time. Manne pave mokh dwar. The door to the Creator and the freedom of life. Let's do that next time. I would like to conclude today's session here. Forgive my errors and slips. It's all extempore to me, so I can make mistakes. If you have any questions, you want to say something, please feel free. You can raise your hand, or if you're in YouTube, you can write the question out and Gursimran will probably bring it over here and we can discuss it. We will wait your questions, and if not, then we can do the Anand Sahib as the conclusion of the session. Anand Sahib is sung in the end of every session for a Sikh Sabha, because the ending of a Sikh is Anand. No matter what happens in the physical world, if he or she is connected to Shabad, he rests in Anand. I would request one of you to volunteer on Anand Sahib then, if there are no questions. If there are, then we can always discuss them. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. ਧੰਨਵਾਦ. Thank you.